Welcome everybody to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. So glad you're with us to stay curious today. And courtesy modern technology, my co-producer Marty Winkle is in a vehicle on Interstate 95 in the great state of New York, remotely helping us today. Hi Marty, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Mark.
Good.
How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm good. I'm good. Having a great day, Marty. Already got two, actually probably three astronauts committed for Shuttle Fest today. But we're grateful for Marty setting this up for me. I had a few little hiccups yesterday where we had Mitch Rothman on of U.S. Manned Space on Facebook. We want y'all to check out Mitch and our great interview we had. There I see us live on my laptop where I'm going to talk about 10 shuttles of the month of May. The month of May is a great month for crewed space flights. And but old timers like Marty and I, and I'm going to mute you a little bit here, Marty, because we're hearing background noise there. Um,
Yeah, our GPS is talking to me.
okay, your GPS is talking to you. All right. But you're having a good trip and you're going up there to see your brother and you got both your brothers with you. So uh, you have a good time, man, my friend. And thank you for doing this today and tomorrow. He'll be gone all next week also. And we got some guests lined up for Marty to help us with, including Bob Granath is going to do a program next week on the Hangar S. You'll love that. The first astronaut hangout and chimpanzee hangout too. A legendary landmark at Kennedy Space Center, or Cape Canaveral, quite frankly. Um, and we've got talked to Bert Dick about coming on maybe next Thursday. So uh, got a lot of guests going on, a lot of mojo going on because of our successful Shuttle Fest. Glad that you're all on board to say hi. Robert Law up in Dundee, Scotland, enjoying his evening. Dave Stange. We do have a date set next year. It is going to be Friday at the museum, April 24th, Saturday the 25th, and Sunday the 26th of April at the Hilton Cocoa Beach Hotel. And we will unleash the reserved rooms on that maybe within the next 2 weeks. And incredibly, I have, Marty, 4 confirmed astronauts already for Shuttle Fest, and we're efforting at least 3 others that said they want to come. So that'll mean a lot of sponsors getting behind it to help us afford this. But we know some astronauts will come on their own, Marty. I'm pretty sure Don Thomas said he's going to pay his own way next year. He had such a great time, as did Joe Tanner. Thank you all for making Shuttle Fest a success. It's important to our museum uh, business model financially, as well as the goodwill that we spend in the community. So, Tom Celentano, hello to you. Thank you for coming to our social hour today. Doug Forrest in Los Angeles. He sold quite a few of his artwork and glad that he did during Shuttle Fest. Dean Babcock, good afternoon to you. And hello there, Mitch Rothman. He said hello from Lake Wales. Safe travels to you, Marty. Of course, you're reading all that because you're going down the interstate seeing it. So, anyway, let's talk a little bit about some current events. We had Ann McLean and Nicole Ayers. They're completing the 5th all-female uh, spacewalk. So I think we can stop putting the all-female in these spacewalks. It was indeed the 93rd spacewalk by 2 people going out 2 at a time on the International Space Station. So 93 times 2 is 186 individual spacewalks is how I like to count them. Julie Clay, thank you for watching. We've got Dean Babcock. Boy, already y'all want to know what's going on. What the theme for Shuttle Fest, we're going to try to go into the Mir years as well as the Hubble repairs. It depends on what astronauts we get. We've already got 2 astronauts who are females committed, and I want to have a Women of the Space Shuttle Sunday. And that leaves Saturday open for our astronauts that worked on the Hubble telescope, of which Kathy Thornton, who we're efforting and we'll see in a month to twist her arm. Carlton Bailey says, leading into the weekend, got your horses bet at the Kentucky Derby, CB. He said the I wonder where you are. I was going to call you because he's been absent. He said that the UCX poisoned him with their Pennsylvania germs. So you better have a good reply for that there, Tommy boy. But it looks like he's down under the weather a little bit. So, CB, we missed you yesterday, and I'll give you a call. So, May. May has got a lot of uncrewed flights and important flights. One is 3 of the 6 Mercury flights are in May. Shepard's Mercury Redstone suborbital is on the 5th. Scott Carpenter's MA7 is on the 24th. 3 orbits, repeating what John Glenn did in February 62. Gordon Cooper, the last of the Mercury flights, was on the 15th in 1963. So I think we'll get Nick Thomas to come in and talk about those, Marty. I like the noise in the background there. It's kind of like I'm in space, Marty, and that's Capcom signals coming in and out there as I'm orbiting the Earth with this beautiful, I believe this is artwork of the International Space Station. It plays large in our month of May shuttles. May 18th is the launch of Apollo 10 for the dress rehearsal, everything but landing on the moon in 1969. The Skylab orbiting workshop, known as Skylab 1 to engineers, was launched May 14th, 1973, and 2 weeks later, the crew led by Pete Conrad was launched on Skylab 2 on May 25th, 1973. So that gives us a lot of stuff to talk about for the month of May. And but one thing that I love about May, being a gray-haired baby boomer, is May Day and the Maypole. Before I get that there, yes, Saturday's our auction, May 3rd. We always have an auction in May. It was May 4th last year. Chuck Jeffries, back from his vacation, will be pounding the gavel down at noon on Saturday, May 3rd. And we will extensively show you some of the artifacts of that. But go to our website and check it out. You won't regret following it or buying a few things to help our museum. The Maypole. Who is old enough to remember that? Raise your hand. And actually did it. Raise your hand. May was traditionally a celebration in the 20th century for workers to give their disputes in the month of May. There was a lot of worker rights things that were demonstrations and such on May. The fun part of May was celebrating the springtime. And somewhere in the 1800s, they came up with a pole that ribbons would be wrapped around called the Maypole. And I remember more on May 1st of getting smacked in the face by the tether ball, the tether pole. Loved to play tether ball, and if you played tether ball and you didn't get hit in the face by that ball, you never played tether ball, okay? It's a ball on a tether, a basketball, like it's more like a volleyball on a tether. And the object is that you're the last one to wrap it around and put that ball against the pole, and you're the winner. I digress with a lot of memories there. Also, I remember the USSR touting their military arsenal on Red Square on May 1st. A big parade was taking place with communism being the theme in the 1960s during the Cold War. And now we know that some of these models, like this one, may have been just that, a model made out of wood and instead of wood and cloth instead of metal. Such was the USSR Soviet wanting to convince the world that they were the best over America. And May 1st is also National Space Day celebration. This is kind of under the wire in many of your communities. We don't celebrate it here. Space Day is in October, I think, that we celebrate. Again, something that we need some volunteers at the museum to help us execute some of these events. Well, on May 1st, 1961, this is Mr. James Webb, all right, the second NASA administrator, known as the first and finest of the space bureaucrats. The James Webb Telescope is named after this great man, as he's holding a Grumman lunar module in his right hand, the 1962 version that we have a model of on our floor in our Apollo gallery. And that is the lunar orbiter that 4 of those missions mapped the topography of the moon so that we could choose the landing sites we wanted to go to. Well, on this date, May 1st, 1961, Webb had this beautiful quote to the press as he was surprised by the amount of media coverage given to the attention of Alan Shepard's space flight that was just about to happen 4 days later. Quote from James Webb, quote, NASA has not attempted to encourage press coverage of the first Mercury Redstone manned flight, but it has responded to the press and television requests with the result that over 100 representatives of the press, radio, and TV are now at Cape Canaveral. And of course, they were waiting for the launch of the suborbital flight of America's first astronaut in space, Alan Shepard. Quote, we must keep the perspective that each flight is but one of the many milestones we must pass. Some will completely succeed in every aspect, some partially succeed, and some will fail. The words of the great James Webb. And he ends his little statement to the media. From all of these missions will come mastery of the vast new space environment on which so much of our future depends. What prophetic words from James Webb in 1961, 64 years ago, as can you doubt that I'm talking to Marty on a cell phone. He's in a car going down the Interstate 95. This is so much a part of our future, and all because of what we created in the space environment, communications and such. So I enjoy anything to promote Mr. James Webb, and he was, of course, the second administrator, served 7 years until the election of President Nixon, and he, of course, had to step down. This is a political appointment. But Webb set the stage with confidence that obstacles would be overcome. He also set the stage that there were going to be heartbreaking failures along the way, and he's deservedly immortalized with the James Webb Telescope that's been operating for the last 3 years, changing again our view of the universe. All right. Well, our view of the shuttle, let's take a rear view mirror shot of the shuttle here. And I think this is a picture Marty Winkle actually took, Marty. It's an orbiter in a rear view mirror. It looks like the driver's side mirror on there. So an image, every time I come across that, I go, why don't I use that more for looking back at the shuttle? And so I shall. 10 beautiful shuttles. Here are their mission logos. Oddly, no missions by OV-99 and 102, Challenger and Columbia, orbital vehicle, showing my prowess of my knowledge now. OV-103 had 2 missions, that's Discovery, but the workhorse, half of the missions of May were flown by Atlantis, OV-104. And Endeavour had the other 3, OV-105. And of course, Atlantis is in our beautiful Kennedy Space Center, and I took a look at it for a few minutes today. When I was out there, Endeavour is in California to be unwrapped in a beautiful stack with the SRBs and ET tank. And Discovery I have seen on the floor of the Udvar-Hazy complex in Washington, D.C. 65 human beings punched tickets on these 10 missions. So that's an average of 6.5 a mission. See, pretty busy. A lot of 7 people missions. 5 of the men that flew on these missions flew twice. And very interestingly, 4 of them flew on STS-125. Michael Good, Box Johnson, Drew Feutzel, and what's Ham's first name? I forget. They flew together on 125, the Hubble mission. And then Good was on 132, Box Johnson, and Feutzel flew together twice in space on 125 and 134, the last mission of Endeavour. and Ham 125 and 132, and Shamatov was on 124 and 133. So several of these gentlemen late in the program got another flight because they were sort of running out of astronauts who were available to fly and weren't trained for another mission. The crews were getting thinned out as the program ended. So a couple of them got a bonus mission within a year or two of their last mission. Well, let's go through them real quick, and I promise not to belabor it too quick because there are 10 of them, and I appreciate you all enjoying when I do talk about the shuttles of the month of May, because it's important that we don't lose the sight that these shuttles changed the way society is shaped, and we're living that way today. So off we go with STS-30 Atlantis, where the spacecraft Magellan was deployed to the planet Venus. The patch shows how it did a U-turn around there. Let's do a few patches here. And 34 is not one that I know very well, so let me kick that off here in my shuttle book. 34, 28, there's 30, there it is, 30. Why do I keep saying 34? 34 is Galileo. The STS-30 crew patch depicts the joining of NASA's manned and unmanned space programs. The sun and inner planets of our solar system are shown with the curve connecting the Earth and Venus, symbolizing the space shuttle orbit, the spacecraft trajectory towards Venus and its subsequent orbit around our sister planet. A Spanish caravel is the name of that ship, K-A-R-A-V-E-L, similar to the ship of the official Magellan program logo, commemorates the 16th century explorer Magellan's journey and his legacy of adventure and discovery. 7 stars on the patch honor the crew of Challenger. The 5-star cluster in the shape of the constellation Cassiopeia vaguely does, yes, on the left, represents the STS-30 crew. The names of the crew members are located around the border. So David Walker was the commander. Have I got a picture of them? And yes, I do. David Walker is the commander in the upper right. Ronald Grabe is the pilot. Norm Thagard. I believe this was Norm's first mission. Mary Cleve, who passed away, and Mark Lee on this. So I'm going to keep track. I've met Thagard and Lee at the astronaut encounter. Okay, and I believe Mr. Walker's passed away. 4-day mission. These interplanetary missions were up and down. Venus, of course, in the clouds, is cloud covered. This is a approaching shot by Magellan in ultraviolet, showing the patterns of the clouds. It's a hellish world, just slightly smaller than the Earth, about 7,800 miles across. We're just under 8,000. But it's covered in 200 volcanoes, some of them active, and Magellan was a very important mission that, as the patch shows, actually looped around the Earth and to get to Venus on a trajectory up there. So STS-30, May 4th to May 8th, 1989. Next up is a favorite of mine, STS-49. STS-49 is May 7th launch. That's the way I have these in order. And this is another very interesting patch. And I'm not going to do all 10 patches, I promise. But this is a cool one. And this was the replacement orbiter for Challenger, built from scratch. And the name was a contest. The crew patch captures spaceflight's spirit of exploration, which has its origins in the early seagoing vessels that explored the uncharted reaches of Earth and its oceans. The ship depicted on the patch is the HMS Endeavour, OUR, by the way, the sailing vessel that Captain James Cook commanded on his first scientific expedition to the South Pacific. And that expedition, I may comment, was like going to the moon at that time, okay? Just as Captain Cook engaged in unprecedented feats of exploration during his voyage on Endeavour's maiden flight, Its crew will expand on shuttle Endeavour's maiden flight. Its crew will expand the horizons of space operations with an unprecedented rendezvous and series of 3 spacewalks. And boy, were they unprecedented. The crew will conduct 1 spacewalk to retrieve, repair, and deploy the Interstellar 6 F3 communications satellites and 2 additional extravehicular activities to evaluate potential space station Freedom assembly concepts. That's right, we were going to have the American space station Freedom with no partners. The flags flying high on Endeavour's mast, note those. One is blue and gold, the other is green and white. They bear the colors of the 2 schools that won the nationwide contest when Endeavour was chosen as the name of NASA's newest space shuttle. Senatobia Middle School in Mississippi and Tahula Falls School in Georgia were the schools that chose Endeavour. Actually, they had so many, they chose them out of a hat. Endeavour was one of the most popular ones there. Let's see. So what have I got next on here? Yes. This was famously the first 3-person EVA where Rick Heeb, Tom Akers, and Pierre Thuet outside the window is looking Bruce Melnick, a friend of ours, and Kathy Thornton, as Daniel Brandenstein and Ken Chilton looked on also occupying that. So I have met Bruce Melnick a bunch, and Kathy Thornton I met also. So there's I got 4 of the astronauts of May so far that I've met. This was a tremendous mission. This was the first mission with, I think, Dan Golden as the administrator. I heard Bruce Melnick tell me that Dan Golden got them in his office and said, "This is my first mission. Don't screw it up, basically, and don't do anything crazy." So what'd they do? The first and only 3-person EVA to repair a satellite, which they did. We've told that story many times. The first and longest EVAs to date were 8 hours and 29 minutes. And it's also, there they are doing their thing, quite a dangerous thing to do. And to get all 3 of them cramped into the exit hatch there was something else too I've heard stories about. I think we have met Heeb. Yeah, I've met Heeb a couple times, I think. No, Tom Akers is the one that we've met. And STS-49 Endeavour was the first use of the drag chute to slow down the shuttle as it landed. Why? Because it was really tearing up the tires. Okay, it was really a problem with the tires tearing them up. So let me keep my socks in one stack here as I go through these. And all right, the next shuttle we're going to celebrate in the month of May is STS-125. Hubble Space Telescope was launched on May 11th, 2009, and 12, almost a 13-day mission, where the astronauts repaired and upgraded the Hubble telescope for the very last time. And we had Mr. John Grunsfeld at Shuttlefest, who enjoyed talking about this mission. He was the last human to touch the shuttle telescope. You had Mike Massimino, was also an EVA astronaut who was on the Big Bang Theory, and he's got a podcast, and teacher in New York City at the college there. And there is the Hubble being released for the last time by Megan MacArthur. Also on that mission was astronaut Michael Good, who I've met. Box Johnson was on that one again, and Scott Altman, Scooter, on there, and Grunsfeld. So I've met Scooter, Grunsfeld, and Good on all that. So that's three more astronauts I'm going to tally up there that I met out of 7. And when I mean met, it's just not wink and wave at them. It's like carry a conversation on with them a little bit there. Some more than others. And also, after the Hubble was repaired, we watched the Shoemaker-Levy 9 crash into it there. Quite an upgrade. STS-132, the last scheduled launch for Endeavour. But it ended up not being such, all right? This was the hard hat mission to the International Space Station. And excuse me, pilot was Steve Bowen, his second and last mission. You got on there was Ken Ham, his second and last. Tony Antonelli, who I met, he looked through my telescope at Jupiter. In fact, his second and last one. Massimino, his second and last. Garrett Reisman's second and last. Looked like every one of these astronauts except Pierre Sellers. He was his third and last mission. All right. And Reisman and Bowen and Good all did EVAs on there. So with that, I met Tony. Tony's really a great guy, Antonelli. Had a lot of fun with him that evening looking through my telescope. He was with a group of school kids from his home state of North Carolina. They most importantly took up Dexter. Not much publicity on Dexter. As you can see, it looks like a robot with arms there. This was on a rail that went around and was supposedly going to do things that we didn't have to walk in space to do. I really don't have an update of how that worked out. The fifth launch of the May is STS-84, which was a 10-day mission. 7 of them spent docked to the Mir space station. Michael Foy was exchanged for Jerry Linenger, all right, in the third swap. Linenger spent 123 days on the Mir, and that time was a record in space up there. This was an anniversary. Shannon Lucid had just gotten back in March of '96. This was in May of '97. And there was the configuration, classic picture now of Shuttle Atlantis docked with the Mir space station. Wow, it just gives you an idea how small the space station was or how big Atlantis was up there. This also included the third Russian woman to go to space, Elena Kondakova, who was married to Valery Rumyan, who passed away not long ago. Eileen Collins, by the way, was the pilot of this mission with Charlie Precourt. So I met Eileen, of course, and so I can add her to my list of how many of these May astronauts I've actually carried a conversation on with. We're rolling into May here. We've got the 134, and this is one that I thought I would read because many of you go, what is up with that crazy looking patch on 134, which was launched the next to the last of the shuttle missions, launched in May 2011 on May 16th. The patch highlights research on the ISS focusing on the fundamental physics of the universe. This was a mission that almost didn't make it, and when it did, it was going to be the last shuttle. On this mission, the crew of the Space Shuttle Endeavour will install the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, the AMS experiment, a cosmic particle detector that utilizes the first ever superconducting magnet to be flown in space. Why do you need a superconducting magnet in space? Not to catch all the space debris up there, although that might not be a bad idea. No, it's to study subatomic particles in the background cosmic radiation, searching for antimatter and dark matter. It will help scientists better understand the evolution and properties of our universe, okay? And they took it up and attached it to the International Space Station. The shape of the patch is inspired by the International Atomic Symbol and represents the atom with orbiting electrons around the nucleus, which is the sun in the center. The Space Shuttle Endeavour and ISS fly together into the sunrise over the limb of the Earth, representing the dawn of a new age in understanding the nature of our universe. And indeed, it really has a lot of other cool symbolisms, I'll bet, in the middle there. And man, I'm sorry I didn't look at the have the patch up there when we were talking about that. So you see the symbol there, the Earth. One of the AMS is there for Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. Okay, and Mark Kelly, who's now a senator, was the commander. Box Johnson, Greg Johnson was the pilot. Shamatov, Ed Spanky Fink was on this. He later did a couple great missions on the ISS. Robert Vittori of the ESA, and Andrew Feutzel, Dr. Feutzel, one of the scientists on board this mission. And here's what the magnetic spectrometer looks like in space, and actually where I think it's been maybe even moved around a couple times, but it is still operating. They changed the batteries out on not too long ago. It's a very important piece of science for astronomers everywhere. Never met anybody on that crew yet. Okay, so looking forward to that. The 7th shuttle flight, Endeavour, Space Hab, and Spartan. All right, this is where you get the symbol at the top. Spartan was a big dish, basically, that inflated to 50 feet in diameter. It was used as an antenna. It was a free flyer, and the Spartan pallet was also a free flyer on this mission. It had John Casper, Kurt Brown, who did 6 flights, 3 as a commander, 3 as a pilot, Dan Bursch, Mario Runco, Mark Garneau, and Andy Thomas. And I've not met any of them, but when I do, I'll tell them to live long and prosper. Okay, because this is a different crew that's got John Casper and Garneau on it. I think this was one of his other missions. Why do I say that? Because it's got an astronaut we're going to talk about here, the lady, in a minute. There's the free flyer, the space lab that was used. Hab is the shorter version, and that's what we lost in Columbia. Yes, Susan Helms is who was in that last picture of the Star Trek, but STS-101 was a May 19th mission and flown in 2000. It'll be celebrating 25 years, almost 10 days in space. Jim Halsell was the commander, his last of 5 flights. Scott Horowitz, and I got a picture of them. Let's look around. No, I don't, of the crew there. We just got an EVA picture of it. They took up, they paved the way, a home improvement house call on the infant ISS, all right? And this marked the 5th spacewalk in constructing the ISS and 49th from a space shuttle. Okay, they took up gear, clothing, can openers, sewing kits, trash bags, a treadmill, a bicycle, ergometer, an IMAX camera with film. Boosted it up to 225 miles and got ready for Susan to occupy it on Expedition 2 in May, a year later, in March. Yeah, she was up, and this is what the space station looked like. There's a big piece of it that one of the EVA astronauts did. There's what it looked like, docked as a Russian Soyuz spacecraft went around it and checked it out in the year 2000, 25 years ago. This was our space station. And then in March 2001, Susan Helms was on the Expedition 2 and the first woman to permanently live on it. Okay, and 2 more to go. This is Expedition 96, one of the few triangular patches there. By the way, did I meet any of those astronauts on that mission there? Nope, I haven't. I have not. But I have met Julie Payette. All right. And this was Rick Husband's pilot, one pilot mission, and then he was made commander of STS-107. And of course, lost his life at that. Kent Rominger was the commander, with Rick Husband as the pilot. Ellen Ochoa, Tamara Jernigan, and Julie Payette were 3 women that went up with Dan Barry and Valerie Tokioff. Up there. And Valerie is a man Valerie, not a woman Valerie, up there. So I met Julie on there and love to meet Tammy. and it had a beautiful launch, noted for this one of the more gorgeous launches at 6:49 a.m. And they installed an insulating cover on Unity module, documented paint services on both the Unity and Zarya modules. All right, and this was actually in 1999, getting it ready for the occupation before there. And finally, we get to number 10. Is a very important mission in May, as well as in the history of the International Space Station. This is taking the Kibo Japanese module that you see there, and let me on STS-124 Discovery. May 31st it was launched. It came back in June, and this is a beautiful patch, a baseball diamond patch. And let's get the artwork behind that. Depicts the Space Shuttle Discovery docked with the International Space Station. It is dedicated to delivering and installing the Japanese experiment module, GEM, known as Kibo, which means hope in Japanese. The significance of the mission and the Japanese contribution to the International Space Station is recognized by the Japanese flag depicted on the GEM on Kibo's pressurized module, the word Kibo written in Japanese at the bottom of the patch. So that's Japanese on the bottom of the patch. And I knew it's Japanese, but it says Kibo, which means hope. The view of the earth shining down upon, the view of the sun shining down upon earth represents the increased hope that the entire world will benefit from Kibo's scientific discoveries. Easy to find on the ISS. When you look for it, it's right over there, right there is Kibo. It's got a porch on it. That they installed on another mission that they could, with a airlock, trying to say, where they could have it go, have experiments come in and out of it. So astronaut Kiho Hashidi I have met, and I've met Ron Guerin. This again, Mark Kelly was the commander, so I missed out. Mark also had 2 missions in May. Karen Nyberg is a wonderful person. I've met Karen. This was a mission that at launch, it blew out a bunch of bricks in the launch pad, and it, which I'm looking if it's A or B. So let's see here. Nope, there's Kibo. Boy, is this an important part of science up there. And though there's no JAXA astronauts up there, there is now. But when there isn't, ESA helps. All the astronauts help maintain the ESA experiments and Japanese experiments there for JAXA. There is our International Space Station. So I met Hashidi, I met Ron Guerin, and Karen Nyberg. Actually, I'm not going to count Ron Guerin. I really didn't meet him. He was here at the museum. So I met 12 of the 65 astronauts, or tickets punched. That makes repeats, I think, makes 58 astronauts have been, went in the month of May. So that's pretty healthy, shaking hands and talking about 12 of them there. So not bragging, it's what we do here at the American Space Museum. And when we go from this, in the year 2000 to this, thanks to the International Space, thanks to the Space Shuttle, 35 workhorse hard hat missions of the Space Shuttle to build it like this, the way it is today, and be glad that you are. So let me give thanks to everybody watching out there. Dean Babcock says his wife and him met Mary Cleve at a Scholarship Foundation Hall of Fame function. Yep, she passed away shockingly to several astronauts. Dr. Keith Sewell's here. Hi, everyone. Astronomy teacher in Arkansas. We've got some, I'm grabbing some other notes here. Carlton says Kent Rominger came to CBS, where he was the photo lab guy one morning, and picked up his pictures. He had a conversation about how he escaped NASA that morning to get out and get his pictures. He was supposed to be under quarantine. Mike Fossum, Steve Jokum says, gave a talk about ISS at his old job. at United Labs there in 2016. And Dave Stange saw STS-132 launch in person, was gotten a VIP viewing pass. It was an awesome experience, he said. So anyway, we're glad that everybody's watching today. Can't get through all the thank yous and love that y'all given us, and you do. Elena, thank you for your heart there. So so I hate to see the ISS deorbited Dean Babcock. And I, as my own personal opinion, not the museum's, I don't really understand why some of it can't be saved, particularly like the Kibo model. Why don't we just take the Kibo model off of it and attach it to a new version or one of the commercial Axiom, Blue Origin, whatever company's going to have the new private commercial space stations up there. So hope I live long enough to see that kind of stuff going on. But as we know, space is hard. Space takes time, costs a lot of money, costs a lot of time. And of course, like the great James Webb said and warned everybody 64 years ago in his speech before Alan Shepard's first main event for the infant NASA crewed space program, James Webb said, we're going to have some successes, we're going to have some partial successes, and we're going to have some failures. And how we handle those is important, because at fate is the future of humanity. And he's proven correct. And the International Space Station is one of the greatest achievements of mankind. So I'll be voting for it for the International Peace Award, the Pulitzer Peace Prize someday. I wish it would get. So thank you all for watching. Tomorrow we'll be sliding in here and give you some wall-to-wall information about our shuttle, our auction coming up Saturday. Many of you follow it, and many of you do buy things from it. And I'll be posting things tonight and tomorrow about it on Facebook. So until then, I'm Mark Marquette saying thank you for watching. And I can't wait to see you again in outer space to bridge the space between us. I'm out.